Hello YouTube, my name is SamsVlogs-N-Vids, and this is another episode of One Take Thoughts. Alright, this video is going to be about abortion and the laws that have effectively banned it or severely restricted it in many states, and about the total lack of common sense that is being applied to these laws. Now, if a state wants to ban or restrict abortions, listen, as a pro-choice person, I'm against that to begin with. But one thing that is astounding me and quite frankly angering me is the lack of any common sense applied to these laws. I know that all these laws supposedly have rules that allow exceptions to save the life of the mother, but so far I'm not seeing that, because I have seen story after story after story about women who have had miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies that need timely care and have been either facing delays or total denial, simply because the doctors in question are more worried about their legal status than actually providing proper care to a patient. And to me, this is a total lack of common sense. See, I'm no medical expert, but I'm a man of logic and reasoning. And logic states that if a woman is miscarrying at 16 or 17 weeks or 15 weeks or whatever it is, and the fetus is going to die anyway, you do a D&E and remove it. What you don't do is wait until the fetus stops having a detectable heartbeat, then remove it, but by then the woman is suffering from a severe case of sepsis, which could kill her. Or ectopic pregnancies. You have to remove the fetus right away, otherwise a woman's fallopian tubes could rupture and she could die of blood loss. Now, again, no common sense at all to these, and that's what pisses me off. Actually, to be honest with you, right now I'm actually going to list several stories of this very thing happening. The first one was an article on Mother Jones, which is not really a news site. They just, repost news from other news sources. But this one was about a woman who had to have a late-term abortion because her fetus at 33 weeks suffered a severe stroke in utero. I didn't even know that could happen, but I digress, I guess it does. And she decided to terminate the pregnancy, and even though she lives in Massachusetts, which has a pretty liberal policy regarding abortion, she still had to go out of state to one of the few states that still have late-term abortion care, because the prognosis for her unborn fetus would not have been good, to say the least, if she would have carried it to term. It would have suffered an extremely diminished quality of life if she was to carry it to term. Now, what scares me about this, to be perfectly honest with you, is that most of these anti-abortion laws that are being passed in all these red states do not give exceptions if the fetus tests positive for something that will severely adversely affect its quality of life once it's born. There's going to be literal cases of a woman who is told by her doctor that your fetus is going to not survive very, very long outside the womb, or it's going to be severely disabled or have numerous health issues, and she may simply not be able to get an abortion because of that. Or she may have to travel out of state to get it, which could pose a whole slew of issues on its own. And to me, no common sense. You give a woman the choice if she wants to terminate the pregnancy or not, if she doesn't want to give birth to someone who's going to have basically suffer an extremely poor quality of life. Second thing here. This happened in Louisiana. A woman who was suffering through a miscarriage at 16 weeks needed to get a D&E to remove the fetus. The hospital's lawyers, yes, you heard that correctly, told the doctor, do not perform the D&E because it could be considered an abortion. Instead, the doctor forced this poor woman to go through an hours-long labor process, which resulted in severe bleeding and an undescribable pain for the patient. Why? Again, no common sense. Actually, I'm going to get to this one in a second here. Another woman, this time in Texas, who had the same thing. Doctors denied a D&E because they didn't want to be accused of performing an abortion on a woman. Same thing. They refused her care until it was almost too late. She suffered severe health problems and a septic infection because they refused to remove it. Here's another, this wasn't a news article, this was taken off somebody's Facebook. This reads, "If you don't think Roe vs. Wade affects you as a woman, you're delusional. I had severe bleeding yesterday, and when I got to the hospital, I was going to have to get another D&C. But since I still had pregnancy hormones left in my body from having my child almost 2 months ago, they had to wait until I got to a critical condition to intervene. Long story short, you will have to be dying before the board of ethics allows it. Now I'm sitting here almost 24 hours later with a hysterectomy instead of a simple surgery. I'm in so much pain still and will forever have a C-section scar when I could have just got it done and over with." This was in Arkansas, by the way. The woman posted an update, and someone asked her, "Absolutely insane, how are you feeling?" She goes, "In a lot of pain. I have air built up in my shoulders and chest, and then wanting to walk around is moving that pressure around. I may need another blood transfusion." Wow. She then writes, I'm so sad that I'll never be able to have any more kids either. Not that I want to right now, but that option is taken from me." Wow. So basically, doctors didn't want to do the proper operation on her because they were worried about, ending a potential life that didn't even really exist, simply to not mess with their legal standing. They basically removed her ability to actually give birth to more life in the future, simply because they were more worried about covering their asses. That's unbelievable. Now here's an interesting thing. There's been a lot of women who have come forward saying that in red states that have banned abortion, their insurance is now no longer covering their birth control. Or their doctors are flat out refusing to refill their birth control. In fact, there was a woman in Tennessee who recently trigger banned abortion who went on TikTok. Now, keep in mind, this is another example of no common sense. This woman in Tennessee went on TikTok to tearfully explain that she can only utilize one form of birth control. I guess it's like something that goes in your arm, because she can't take regular hormonal birth control because it causes clotting, which is serious, as you can probably imagine. She went to 3 different doctors, and all 3 refused to authorize another refill for her birth control out of fear that if she has a child and inadvertently leaves it in, it may harm her fetus. Now, how stupid is this? How unbelievably dumb is this? So you're going to tell me that you're going to not let her obtain an abortion in the state of Tennessee if she actually comes down with an unwanted pregnancy, but you're going to deny her the only medication that she can take to prevent such a pregnancy in the first place. Again, no common sense whatsoever with this. And you may be asking, well, you're a man of logic and reasoning, why do you think they're trying to actually deny women their birth control? Well, that's one thing that I've always wanted to know. Why are doctors and pharmacies now using these new laws as an excuse to deny women their birth control? Well, I don't know. It's just stupid. You know, if you want to prevent abortions, let women have their birth control. I don't get this. But I'll tell you what a major part of all this is. A major root issue here. Now, by the way, I just want to mention that I think I know what is happening with some of these birth control denials. The way the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, I am willing to bet my lunch money on it. That they are hoping that one of these women sues because she's denied her birth control. It'll go to local county court, then state court, then federal court, and finally the Supreme Court. And knowing these a-holes that are in the Supreme Court right now, they might just overturn Connecticut versus Griswold, which is the Supreme Court ruling back in 1965 that forced states to legalize the sale of birth control to women. Now, there's another Supreme Court ruling that actually solidified it for unmarried couples as well. The first one was for married couples. I forgot the name of that one. But that's the problem. These states are hoping that a woman who's denied her birth control sues to the point where it goes up to the Supreme Court so that the shitbags that were appointed can overturn Connecticut versus Griswold. And if that happens, a state can outlaw any birth control they want, and it would literally be judicially kosher. Now, you may be asking yourself, why all this BS? Well, like a lot of things that people do in this country, I hate to say it, but it's rooted in racism. Let me explain. It's no secret that a lot of this anti-abortion nonsense came about after the scientific community published a report that people are not having children and it's causing the birth rate to fall below collapse levels. But as a friend of mine recently explained, you have to look at what birth rate a lot of these conservatives and Republicans are concerned about. It's not the African American birth rate. It's not about the Latino birth rate. It's about the Caucasian birth rate. Latinos and African Americans, their birth rate is fine. As a matter of fact, it's probably increasing. But Caucasians, white people are simply not having children. Partially because it's expensive to raise a child, and well, with the fact that people are being crushed by student loans and rent, it's kind of hard to bring a kid in the world with everything else that's going on. So, of course, you know, conservatives and Republicans are literally scared to death of, well, let's face it, whites becoming the minority, and they basically are trying to fix it by forcing white people to bring children into the world. Now, if you think this sounds familiar, it is. It is a racist ideology it is a racist theory called the Great Replacement, in which some people are worried that if we don't do something to fix the birth rate, we're going to, you know, Caucasians are going to be the minority. So once again, we have another shit-witted change that is going to affect people's lives, all because people are racist. But again, you know, that's really all I have to say about this, you know. And if you want to comment, like, subscribe, share this video, go ahead and do so. Once again, this is Sam, and until next time, I'll see you around. Bye.